Hello and welcome to another episode of Motor for the Masses, episode 5 of the Project Hybrid build, which I know some of you have been eagerly awaiting. I have to apologise for our non-Motors for the Masses attire, but I am ill.
And it's cold.
And it's cold, so we're wrapped up to keep warm. So, are we ready? Let's just do a quick rundown of what we've got. Welding equipment.
Check.
Bike.
Check.
Health and safety.
Check.
Marvellous. Let's begin. So let's talk about what the plans are for today, Malcolm.
Why does it always come down to me?
Because you're the technical expert, apparently.
I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm an expert, but there we go. Well, we've got the old tank here, which I should place on very quickly. Goes somewhere around here. We need to put the new tank on to pretty much match the position here, so we're not getting the yoke hitting it and all that other sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to come a little further back, so we're going to have to think about making a bracket for here. You've come up with the idea of using this piece, which is a brilliant idea. So we'll just cut that off, weld it in over here, so I'm going to make a nice rubber grommet thing up to suit the tank and the seat bracket.
Yeah.
We've got the seat, which is here, which of course won't go on because of that bracket and whatever else is in the way.
So we've got the seat hoop to go around the back, and the seat hoop will be welded on here.
We have a seat
right,
hoop.
so all the prices for this stuff will be in the description below, and you can see where we got them from as well.
Yeah, this came from a local guy, didn't he, or a guy somewhere?
A guy up north somewhere, but he makes them to fit.
Right.
So you just say what you want, or I just said what bike I wanted it for, and it was a cafe race, so we didn't know exactly what we were doing. We've got some manoeuvrability in the fabrication, so as long as it's for a Honda 404, I think we're going to be on a good one.
And that comes with these nice springy sleeve things for insertion as well.
Yes, and we've also got some nice new suspension, some piggyback suspension, and that will go in there. Obviously we're not mounting that just yet because we have to sort out the tank first.
You might remember from a previous video, the idea behind those was to jack the back end up just a tiny bit to take up the fact that this seat is a lot less
a lot less chunky
than the original.
Yes.
So your seating height has come down.
Yeah.
So to jack the back up a bit, give that little bit of room to the foot pegs.
Yes.
If we decide not to move them.
That will also then give us a bit more clearance between the mudguard and because obviously there's a scrambler tyre going on here, and we've got to mount the lights as well. We've had a good idea about the lights, but we'll come on to that a little bit later.
Yes.
So let's get cracking!
So we've just been thinking about some potential issues that we're going to have fitting this tank rather than this tank. Number one, completely apparent, is the distance between these two mounting brackets and these two mounting brackets. Of course the frame, I don't know if you can see that in shot or not, is designed for these, not these. So we can use these rubber grommet things that came with it, they fit, and that's perfect. And we've got a nice piece of 10mm bar steel stuff, just here, and we'll make up something that can go from the frame onto these, to sort of space out and make a kind of little jerry-rig kind of framework thing to support the tank.
Of course, we need to make sure that it's not just bar, because otherwise it'll bend.
No, it will be just bar, but I'll use several pieces of bar to make a nice kind of triangulated frame thing.
Okay, and obviously
strong.
that will then be nicely tarted up so it doesn't look like a big welding blob of metal.
Yeah, I mean it'll be powder coated with the frame once that's powder coated and everything, so it'll look like it's meant to be there, so that's good. Another potential issue, positioning of the fuel tap. On that one, it's way over there on the outside. This one is tucked in nicely on the inside. That is very close to where the frame sort of splits into two for the seating end. We have mocked it up and it does clear with about 5mm of clearance, which is pretty good. The only other issue we have is the height of the tank, which actually we've discovered is now not an issue, so that's good. And the positioning of this bracket, which isn't a massive issue because, like we say, we're going to move that bracket off the back of the bike, weld a piece in down here to support this on a rubber, and so it's fixed down properly, and then when we put the seat on there, that'll be nicely secured as well. Issues sorted, I think.
Now when you buy these tanks, one thing you have to be wary of is that they are very, very sharp. They are just fabricated, they're not prepared. So these edges are like razor sharp, so before you do anything you should grind off the edges just to make it smooth so you don't slice your fingers open every time you try and manoeuvre it.
We haven't done that yet.
That's coming next. So this tax disc, although it's not necessary anymore, I'm going to keep it because it's novel, but for now it's in the way. So it's just a 14mm nut, undo, and out it comes. This handle, okay, it's good to have a handle because it's easy to manoeuvre, but I don't think we need it, so that's going as well, because it's not really going to go with the sleek lines of the bike. Consider that gone.
As for this seat hinge, we're not going to be hinging the seat, get rid of it. Seat latch, get rid of it. Let's go. Next thing, I'm just going to take these little bracket things off and I'm going to cut straight across there on that weld, same on the other side to rescue that because we'll use it later, and then we're going to cut off just behind the shock mount here on the frame so we can put our hoop in place. So let's get it done.
So before we cut off this end piece, we're just going to mock up like we did here, put the tank in place, put the seat where it's roughly going to be, and then we know where the hoop's going to go. So yes, we're just going to cut off just behind this shock bracket mount, and we're good to go.
It's worked out perfectly, really. I'm really pleased with it. I mean, I didn't want to cut any of that bracket off.
It actually measures up really, really nicely.
Yeah.
It's spot on, really pleased.
And it's looking good as well.
It is.
I like how it's looking.
We already have an idea about how we're going to put the bracket on for the lights and where that's going to go, and the number plate is going to be more or less scrambler style, not flat but angled like so on the back here rather than straight.
But we'll get it as low as we can, simply if we'll hide the number plate like that behind the seat.
Yeah, but obviously what we have to take into account, and we haven't got them yet but they're on their way, are the tyres are going to be scrambler tyres. They're going to be slightly taller because they're going to be a bit more knobbly.
But the suspension will be slightly lower on the back end.
It will?
Because of the different shocks.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the space between the seat and the thing.
I think we'll be alright.
I think we'll be alright. Actually, yeah, because the space in the suspension will push that down a bit further.
Yep.
We'll be good.
Indeed.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
So let's get cutting.
Never really know what's going on. Look at me sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show.
Okay, something to be wary of, that when you're doing this, they sleeve them as standard to strengthen, because this is where the suspension is, as you can see here. So, thankfully, they move.
And we want to use these, so they slide in there, but they can't with those in.
But they do move. We've just tried it and they do move. Yeah. So, if they move, they can come out.
Or just be bashed in, one of the two.
Whichever. Yeah, I don't want it to rattle around in the frame if it goes too far.
I ain't going to rattle anywhere. I don't really know how we'll get that out, to be honest. So hook something behind it.
A big screw and pull it, really.
There's one.
Well, it seems that they've obviously put it in as a strengthener for the frame. So, I think it should go back in. And we'll just push it down and then put the new one in. Extra strength, can't hurt. The concern was that it was huge and it went all the way down the frame. We didn't know how much went down. But as we know it's only a little piece, we're going to push it back in, keep the strength in there and put the new one in. And now we have planes overhead. Really? Looks like your plane's got a problem, mate.
Yeah, it's flying over us.
Yeah. Bugger ye off-ski. Why so low? You're in a plane, you've got all that sky up there. Bugger off. So anyway, that nicely fits in there. Obviously we're not going to put it all the way in yet because we have to clean these up and grind it down so we've got a nice clean piece to weld to. And then this will slide over there and mount up. Lovely!
But much shorter.
Oh, of course, yeah. I've had an idea. We can put the frame in and then mount it to the seat on one side and then easy access.
No.
No? All right. Between here is a lot wider than it is on the old tank, so we're going to measure this space here, measure this and take it away from that, then we're going to half it so we know how long the post needs to be. Then we're going to weld a post where it needs to be on here and then put a triangulation brace, so brace it this way and that way to strengthen it. So first of all, let's measure. Right, so the gap between these rubber grommets is 180 millimeters. We know these are 15 millimeters each, so that's 30 millimeters. That makes it 210 mil. So 210 mil. The space between here is 53. So 210 by 53 is 157. So 157 divided by 2 is say 79. Better go more than less. So 79 millimeters either side. So each post needs to be 79 millimeters. Then if we need to, we can shave a bit off.
We'll round it up to 80 just for easy measuring.
Fair enough. Okay, so 80 mil either side. Measure it up where it needs to go, weld it in. Once it's in place, brace it that way and that way, and we're good to go. So now the tank is mocked up in the position it needs to be in. Everything is in the right place, the right gap either side, and the rods are in. We're just about to weld them in. So that's the rod there, and that's what we're going to weld onto the bike there. So here we go.
With a bit of luck, I've tacked them on enough. I'm going to pull the tank off the rubbers. That's not going to pull the metal bits with it. So it's just liberate this tape. And with any luck, they'll stay attached to the frame rather than the tank. Feels alright so far. There we go.
So obviously they look quite large from this angle, but you have to imagine that there's no other way of tacking them because that's such a massive gap between the nodule slots on that new tank.
Yeah, I mean, we could have added a big chunk of frame, but that's just extra weight that's unnecessary.
It is unnecessary, and you're not going to see it. And once it's tacked in place, and once it's got the rods put in, and then it's all powder coated, that's going to look fine.
So there we have it, welded on some triangulated bits and bobs. The rubber hoogies will fit on the end of that, and the tank slots on, lovely jubbly. Proper strong. That's a mess, but it's proper strong.
Once the welds have been ground down and it's powder coated, job jobbed. So there we have the bracket all done and grindled down, like so. So the tank is now properly in place. Now we've got a bit of an issue with the seat. Now let me explain. Now the seat mount, ideally we wanted to use that other mount to put in, which we still can. However, we need to know the thickness of the rubber for the space of the seat to slot in before we know how much to cut off the bracket and how high to have that bracket on here. And then this is that bracket we're talking about. We need to cut it down, but we need to know how much to cut it down, and we can't do that without knowing the thickness of the rubber, and we haven't bought that yet, so we need to buy that ready for next time. Not a problem. However, when that's done, then we know exactly the distance of the seat, then we know how much of this hoop to chop off as to how far that goes in, and so we can't really do much else until we've got that rubber. And unfortunately, because today we had a bit of a plumbing disaster that we had to sort out, we've run out of time. But the tank is mounted. So there you go. That's pretty awesome. Pretty pleased with that. In fact, if I take this off here, I'll show you the finished product. Lift up, slide off, there goes the wood, and there we go. Now next week we have that brand new Mustang GT350 that we're doing, and then the week after we'll be back on this. So please join us again soon. Until next time, ride and drive carefully, but have fun. See you later.